They did not just forget my name, they forgot I belonged to them. The hotel ballroom looked like a movie scene from a tasteful dream. Pale linen, low candles, and a violinist working through standards my mother loved. My brother, Caleb, stood at the center with his fiancée, Sabrina, both luminous beneath a chandelier. I stood by the door, smoothing the crease of my thrifted dress, trying not to touch the small velvet box in my pocket, the one that carried my grandmother's ring for me, not tonight, but someday. I am Tessa Rowland. I am 29, a grant writer who works late, cooks cheap soups, and keeps a list of everything I have paid back since college. I was not on the seating chart. A woman with a clipboard smiled and said, with perfect kindness, that the chart was final, and perhaps I could take one of the extra chairs near the bar. I watched strangers lift champagne flutes engraved with Caleb and Sabrina's initials. My last name was printed everywhere except on a place card. My mother swirled toward me in a sage silk dress, fragrant with white tea perfume. "You made it," she said, as if I had walked in from across the hall and not across years of being the quiet one. "We are doing an immediate family photo. Stay nearby." I stood nearby, and then I watched them pose without me. My mother called for Caleb's godmother. Sabrina's sister stepped forward. I remained where the staff lined empty glasses. The photographer lifted his hand, counted down, and the flash became a small, hot sun. No one noticed that I had not moved. I felt nothing at first, then all of it at once. My hands were steady, my lungs were careful, my smile was a thing I kept bending into shape and then letting relax. I had RSVP'd weeks ago. I had texted my mother, twice. She left me red receipts like breadcrumbs, then never replied. She does this when she is busy with something she considers important. In our family, important often meant events where I was asked to be useful and invisible. I once drove 3 hours to pick up centerpieces from a woman named Margot because Sabrina did not like her florist's lace. I carried 20 glass cylinders down a narrow staircase and told myself I was part of the team. Tonight there were new cylinders, and someone else's hands would have those tiny cuts. When the toasts began, I took my extra chair by the bar as if it were a raft. The bartender asked my preference and I said water, very cold. He poured it like it mattered. Across the room, Caleb raised a glass and thanked our parents for endless support. The words were easy and sincere, because he meant them. He has always been loved openly. I have been loved carefully, which is another way of saying conditionally. I texted Evan, my not-quite fiancé. He was at home after a hospital shift, drinking tea and waiting for me to tell him when to pick me up. He is an occupational therapist who believes in small improvements and honest questions. I typed, "I think I might head out early." He wrote back, "Do you want me to come get you now, Tess?" On stage, Sabrina's father spoke about merging families. He said family twice, then 3 times. The word felt like a key held out, then pulled back. I did not cry. I just realized something important, something simple. For years I had been asking for a chair. I had brought my own tonight. Maybe what I needed was a door. When the room rose for applause, I rose too. I slipped the velvet box deeper into my pocket, past the clipboard woman, and stepped into the cooler air of the corridor. Between the ballroom and the parking lot was a small chapel that the hotel rented for vow renewals. I pressed my palm to its closed door and felt, for the first time that night, heat move from the world into me. Outside, the night held its breath in the way cities do before rain. Evan parked by the hedges and came toward me, jacket over his arm, eyes searching my face. He did not speak in questions that demanded a performance. He simply asked, "How do you want to leave?" Quietly, I said, "No scenes. I am done auditioning for my own family." We drove to his apartment where the lamp by the sofa casts a cheap, golden light, warmer than the ballroom, humbler, true. I changed into a sweater that smelled like our detergent, and he made toast with raspberry jam, which he knows I eat when words are heavy. In the silence between us, I watched the tremble in my hands flatten to a calm line. He sat close enough to count my breathing. He did not fix me. He held space while I remembered I was not broken. By morning, the family group chat had bloomed with photos. My brother, tall and relaxed. Sabrina, radiant. My mother, captioned as the architect of the evening, tagged by 3 of her friends. In one picture, the whole family stood beneath the chandelier. I expanded it with my fingers, searching for myself like I often had, as if I had wandered out of frame by mistake. I was a ghost, which is a polite word for someone no one noticed was missing. I typed, "Congratulations, proud of you both." The message sat there, polite and small. A few hearts appeared. My mother replied with a thumbs up, the universal symbol for return to silent mode. Then she texted me privately, "Thank you for ducking out early, it kept the focus where it should be." Lines can be read as love or as correction. I knew which this was. I remembered the velvet box. My grandmother had left that ring to me. She had known I kept lists and sat with her during her slow afternoons, reading her grocery notes in a voice we both pretended was cheerful. The ring had not been sized. It was a plain gold band with a small stone, modest and bright. She wanted me to have something that felt like a promise I could make to myself, not one I waited to be handed. I showed Evan the text, then the picture, then the ring. He turned the band in his fingers, thoughtful. "What do you want, Tess?" "I want to stop asking for their permission to be real." "What does that look like today?" "Today," I said, "it looks like marrying you." He inhaled, startled and soft. "We can. The courthouse is open till 4. We can invite no one or everyone. We can wear sweaters." I shook my head, not to him, but to the script I had followed for years. No announcements. No posts. No perfect pictures. Just something we know is ours. Then, when Caleb's formal engagement dinner happens tonight, I will go, I will wish them well, and I will sit where I choose. "Wearing the ring," he said. "Wearing the ring," I answered, my voice even. Not a stunt, not a theft of attention, but a statement written on my hand. We went to the courthouse after lunch. In a small room painted a calm blue, a clerk with a kind smile checked our IDs. I signed my name, and for once the line of it did not look like it was apologizing for its shape. The judge asked if anyone objected. The quiet answered for us. Evan's hands were slightly cold, mine were warm, and the vows we spoke were smaller than the ones you hear in movies, but they fit. We exchanged rings. The gold sat on my finger like it had been waiting for the temperature of my skin. If joy can be quiet, ours learned its accent there. We ate tacos from a truck outside and wiped salsa from our wrists with paper napkins that stuck to our palms. I sent Caleb a message, "See you tonight at the engagement dinner. I am happy for you." He replied with a heart and a photo of his suit laid out on a bed, neat and hopeful. He deserved a good life. So did I. On our way back, Evan tucked my hair behind my ear the way he does when he is thinking. "No need to tell them in a speech," he said. "No," I said. "My hand can speak in one sentence. They can read it or not." When we got to his apartment, I opened the old wooden box that held my files. I wanted my passport, my social security card, the things I might need to change a name later, or not. The box snagged, then sighed open. Beneath a stack of receipts from years I would rather forget, something else waited, something that did not belong in this box at all, because it was from a different life. The envelope was cream, with my mother's cursive across the front. The date was 8 months after my grandmother died. I had never seen it before. For a moment, I thought it might be one of those cards mothers tuck away, a letter saved for when apologies are too heavy to be handled in person. The flap lifted without resistance, as if it had been opened and resealed by someone not afraid of fingerprints. Inside were two things, both ordinary, both loud. A bank statement and a letter from a lawyer. My grandmother had been careful with money. She had set aside a small fund years ago, a sum she called Tessa's wedding jar, though it lived in an account, not glass. It was not extravagant. It was enough for a dress sewn by someone local, a simple ceremony, a few months of rent, peace. The lawyer's letter confirmed that the account had been assigned to me upon her death. The bank statement showed a transfer, 3 weeks after the funeral, from that account to another bearing my mother's name, then a debit to a catering company I recognized from last night. My mouth went dry in the way that is more shock than thirst. Evan leaned over the table, reading with me, his breath steady. He did not speak first. He waited. Good allies understand that discovery belongs to the one who is bleeding. I looked at the line items, the neat numbers, the memo column that read family engagement deposit. I thought about the centerpieces I had fetched, the polite chairs, the photo without me. The world rearranged itself in small, precise clicks, like the sound of a camera lens finding its focus. This is theft, Evan said quietly, not dramatic, not a threat, just a word placed correctly on the table between us. It is choosing, I said. She chose what mattered to her. She chose him, and then she chose herself. He put a hand on mine. What do you want to do? I want this to end without me becoming a person I will not recognize. I want to stand in a room and not whisper my own name to be included. I want my grandmother's careful love to land where she threw it. I know someone, he said. Anita Morales. She is a small firm attorney who grew up paying attention. She will not bulldoze. She will thread a needle. We drove to Anita's office, a second-floor walk-up over a bakery, the hallway warm with sugar and butter. Anita wore a charcoal blazer and kindness that did not make me feel small. She read the letter, then the bank statement, then asked me to tell the story from the start. She listened the way you listen to a hymn you learned as a child. When I finished, she spoke in even measures. We will keep this clean, she said. I will draft a demand for repayment of the transferred funds within 30 days, with acknowledgement of the moral breach and a written apology. We will include the original lawyer on copy, and we will cite the provisions of the transfer. No social media. No family text warfare. We will give them a way to behave better. Will I wreck his engagement? I asked. Only if they choose wreckage, Anita said. We are offering repair. She printed a letter, precise and cold. It was not angry. It was correct. She slid it across to me. If you want, you can deliver this by hand at the dinner. Or I can mail it. Or we can do nothing and you can walk away forever. No choice is a failure. Every choice is a path. The bakery bell chimed downstairs. Someone ordered coffee with cinnamon, the air lifting, a small grace. I thought of my grandmother, the way she would rub circles on the back of my hand when I could not sleep, saying, "You can be loved without being useful. You can be loved for breathing." I will take the letter, I said. I will give them a quiet chance. If they take it, good. If not, I will close the door, not bang on it. I already married the life I want. Anita nodded as though I had passed a test I did not know I was taking. Then we are done here until they answer, she said. Do something kind for yourself this afternoon. Put on the ring if you want to. It belongs to your finger, not to their approval. Back home, I stood by the window and slid the band back on. The stone caught daylight, not chandelier light, and it looked like it preferred morning. Evan pressed his forehead to mine. We both smiled in that small, private way you earn. At 6, I dressed for the dinner. Navy dress, clean lines, hair pulled back. I tucked Anita's letter into a simple folder. I looked like someone who knew where she was going, even if the destination was a room I had been denied for years. There was no drama in my bones, only clean air. The quiet inside me felt like a skill. The restaurant had high windows and good acoustics. Laughter carried, polished and bright. Long tables ran like rails toward a small stage where a microphone waited for toasts. The host checked the list and smiled as if my name were easy to find. It was, this time. A stick-on label read Tessa Rowland at table 4. My mother's hand was in that font. She liked control. She liked being seen curating inclusion. I breathed once, deep, then walked toward the table with the steadiness you learn when you cross a frozen river. Tess, Caleb said, coming in fast, relief in his voice. I was worried you were upset last night. I said. I am not now. Congratulations, truly. Sabrina hugged me. Her perfume was the soft kind. You look beautiful, she said, and she meant it. She had not orchestrated my erasure. She had benefited from it. Those are not the same sins, though they sometimes share a table. We sat. I placed the folder on my lap, the ring on my finger, my palm face down, ordinary. The server poured sparkling water. A bread basket arrived, warm. My mother glided in late, the way she does when she wants the room to stop and look. Her eyes landed on my hand, not with joy, but with calculation, a flinch disguised as a blink. What is that? She asked, low and clipped. My wedding ring, I said. Her mouth parted, then reset. You are engaged. Married, I said. This afternoon. Caleb gaped, then laughed, startled as a child at fireworks. You are serious. Tess, why did you not tell me? Who is he? Evan, I said. You met him. He likes raspberry jam and Sunday crossword clues. We kept it small because we wanted it clean. My mother's fork touched porcelain. You could not wait until after the weekend, after your brother's event, after we had finished with this? It is finished, I said, and rested my hand on the table. The gold looked like it belonged there among the knives and the linen. I am not making an announcement. I am setting a table for myself. She looked at the ring, then at my eyes, and a coldness passed over her face like a cloud across sun. Control leaving the room is a weather system. When the appetizer plates were cleared, I lifted the folder and slid a single sheet toward her. A lawyer letter, I said. From Anita Morales. It concerns a transfer from Nana's account, designated to me, that was used as a deposit for last night's event. This is not public. This is not a fight. It is an invitation to return what is mine and to acknowledge the mistake. 30 days. Quietly. Caleb's chair scraped. Mom. It was a family fund, my mother said, voice low, controlled. Your grandmother would have wanted. The letter says what she wanted, I said. She put my name on it. She wanted me to find the door. Sabrina's hand went to her throat, then settled. We can fix this, she said to Caleb, not to me, a promise made inward. My mother did not touch the letter. You will ruin his night, she said. I shook my head. I brought a way to keep it intact. Money can move back. Acknowledgement can be written. We can eat dessert and go home. Or we can choose wreckage. I will not throw the first stone. Silence reached a hand across the table. Caleb picked up the paper, read quickly, then read again. His face changed, not into anger, but into understanding of a weight he had not noticed on my shoulders. He exhaled. We will return it, he said. All of it. With an apology. Mom, please. My mother's jaw worked as if chewing stone. The room hummed beyond our small circle, unaware. "This is cruel," she said, softer now, almost pleading. "To do this here." "It is careful," I said. "Last night, you forgot me to make something beautiful. Today, I remembered myself to make something right." She looked at my ring again, then at Caleb, and something in her calculation broke. She nodded once, a banker's nod, a deal executed. "After dinner," she said. "Before dessert," I replied. "Anita's email is on the bottom." The toasts began. I clapped when it was time to clap. I listened to stories about Caleb's kindness and Sabrina's patience. They deserved every word. I took a sip of water and felt the world line up, not perfectly, but on a better track. There was no cinematic triumph. There was stillness, the kind you earn after a storm breaks and the air goes clean. My mother folded the letter into her clutch like it might burn her. She did not look at me again. She did not need to. I had spoken without raising my voice. The truth was doing the heavy lifting in the middle of the room, quiet and undeniable. Justice arrived not as spectacle, but as a change in temperature. The transfer landed 2 days later. Anita called, steady and smiled. "Funds returned in full, apology attached," she said. "The wording is stiff, but the line that matters is clear." The apology letter was 4 sentences. My mother wrote that she had acted hastily and improperly, that she regretted using money not hers to use, that she would seek to do better, that she hoped to repair what she had frayed. I read it twice, then folded it into the file with the lawyer's letter and the copy of my grandmother's careful instructions. I did not frame it or post it. I let it live as a document among other documents, proof that choice can be corrected when you call it by its true name. Caleb came by with coffee and a bag of oranges. He stood in my kitchen like a man who had been given the map to a house he thought he already knew. "I am sorry, Tess," he said. "I have been standing under a light I did not have to tend. I should have noticed your place at the table was missing." "You have your own weather to watch," I said. "I am not angry at you. I am done being invisible. That is the difference." We peeled oranges over the sink. Juice slicked our fingers. He told me about the wedding plans, shy about asking if I would come. I told him I would, on the condition that my name lived on a card I could see before I walked into the room. He laughed, then soberly nodded, because this was less a joke than a treaty. When I returned to my grandmother's ring box, I placed a slip of paper beneath the velvet. I wrote, "Tessa Rowland, married to Evan Hale on a Wednesday, under daylight, with tacos." I added, "The ring fits. If someday a daughter or niece finds it, I want her to know the important lines." Evan and I built a small home out of our old habits and new vows. On Saturdays we buy herbs and plant them in chipped ceramic bowls. Basil by the window, mint on the ledge, rosemary by the kettle. I like the way my hands look when they are dirty with soil, the way the band of gold catches in the grain. Work turns fear into heat and then into strength. I feel that when I rinse the dirt away and dry my palms on a towel we share. My mother texted a photo of a dress she was considering for the wedding. At the bottom she wrote, "I would like to meet Evan for dinner next week." There was no emoji, no shield. I wrote back a time and a place, a diner with cracked red boots, pie by the slice, and a waitress who calls everyone honey as if it were a bandage. Repairs happen in small, repeated stitches. I am not naive enough to think one meal will make us new. I am hopeful enough to book the table. Sabrina sent a voice message. "Thank you," she said. "For how you handled everything. For not setting the room on fire. For setting the room right." Her tone was careful. Her gratitude was real. I saved the message, not because I needed praise, but because recognition can live beside wounded history without crowding it out. On a Sunday morning, the the light came through our blinds in clean stripes. Evan slept beside me, one arm draped across our dog, who took the responsibility seriously. The apartment smelled like coffee and rosemary, like the future we chose. I made a list at the kitchen table, the way I always have. Groceries, car tabs, change my social security card, send Anita a thank you, book the secondhand shop to tailor the navy dress to fit my new shoulders. I thought of the ballroom and the extra chair by the bar, how it had felt like a raft. I thought of the courthouse, where the judge had asked if anyone objected and the quiet made a promise on our behalf. I thought of my grandmother's hands rubbing circles on my skin, and the way the ring now warmed to me every morning. The revenge did not look like what I used to imagine. It did not taste like triumph or ash. It tasted like clean water, steady and cold, poured by someone who saw me, even if that someone was myself. I have learned that justice, when it is quiet, is often heavy. It presses things into place. It does not demand applause, though it accepts it when it comes honest. At my brother's engagement, they forgot me, and the absence carved a path. I walked that path wearing my wedding ring, my grandmother's gift, my own consent. They will picture that night and remember the toast, the music, the moment my mother took a letter she knew weighed exactly as much as her name. If this story touched you, share your thoughts below. And subscribe for more stories of quiet revenge.